So thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Welcome to the 8th EthioLatinCoffee webinar based on the project Women, Coffee and Climate, the Desira project. Today we'll be talking on the context of the European Green Deal and its implications for the coffee sector. My name is Alemu Tasfaye. I'm Regional Programs Manager at Austria and the coordinator of the EthioLatinCoffee Community of Practice. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the European Union, the International Trade Center, the Oromia Coffee Farmers Cooperatives Union, and Pro Expo for collaborating with us for this webinar. Our objective Our objective today is to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of the European Green Deal and how it affects the coffee industry. We aim to facilitate knowledge exchange and learning among all of us, participants and speakers, on critical topics such as sustainability, transparency, and compliance with European Green Deal regulations. Additionally, we hope to promote awareness of the importance of sustainability and environmental responsibility within the coffee sector, given the paramount significance of the European Green Deal. Lastly, we seek to foster a constructive dialogue on how we can adapt to these regulations, offering valuable insights and strategies for compliance. As we delve into today's program, let me briefly outline what's in store. Following my welcome remarks, we'll hear an opening remarks from Ms. Aurora Martin. She's a program manager at Spanish Corporation, and she's a lead of the Women, Coffee and Climate Desira project. Our first substantive session will delve into understanding the European Green Deal. Mr. Danilo Barbero from European Union will provide an overview of the European Green Deal. He will discuss its key objectives and strategies, its relevance to global sustainability, and the implications it holds on a global scale. Moving on, we'll explore the EU Cooperative Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. Dr. Martina Bozola, Senior Advisor for Sustainability at the International Trade Center, will enlighten us about pilots on accompanying measures to the EU Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. In our third session, we'll shift our focus to experience from Ethiopia. Mr. Dejane Dadi, the General Manager of the Oromia Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union, will present or will talk on the impact of the European Green Deal on Ethiopian coffee farmers and value chains. This session will offer us valuable insights into the specific challenges and opportunities that Ethiopian smallholder coffee farmers and the coffee value chain face in relation to the European Green Deal. Next, we'll hear experience from Latin America on adapting to EU regulations in the coffee sector. We'll hear short experience from Honduras. Our distinguished speaker, Rene Madrid from Pro Expo in Honduras, will provide unique perspectives on this critical topic. Unfortunately, the speaker from Colombia won't be able to join us today due to other urgent matters. Following this, we'll open the floor for question and answer, but Mr. Danilo would have to leave early, so we'll move the question and answer session next to his presentation. We have a rich and insightful agenda ahead, and we encourage active participation, questions, and dialogue throughout this event. Thank you for being here, and let's embark on this enlightening webinar. Without further ado, I now invite Ms. Aurora Martin, the project lead, to give us some opening remarks. Thank you so much. Over to you, Aurora.
Thank you, Alemo. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being today here with us in this 8th webinar. As you know well, we are here because of the project Women, Coffee and Climate that is funded by European Union and Spanish Cooperation. And as it mentions in the title, climate is a very important issue regarding to the coffee sector, not only in Ethiopia, but beyond, in every country. It was a concern to discuss about this topic, about the European Union Green Deal, and more specific about the zero deforestation commodities that is this new law or regulation by the European Union in order to import goods which do not have any deforestation linked or other issues like the traceability or like human rights. So this concern came to us not only by our Ethiopian colleagues, our Ethiopian partners, but also by our partners from Colombia and from Honduras. So here we are today to delve into this very important topic, which is already is something that it seems at the beginning that it was a bit in the future, but right now it's already in the present. No, we already had a webinar which was focusing as well on this on this issue last month, which we have quite high participation to the webinar. So we realized the importance of this topic, and also based on this, framing the project, we are having different consultancies in order to delve more into this topic and see ways to move forward in order to meet the different requirements that European Union Green Deal is now we need to comply with. So I don't want to take more time. I would like to thank all the participants. We understand that we're at the end of the year. That is very busy time. So we will also share, as always, the recorded from this session, as well as the minutes and all the information from this session to be accessible for all different people who are and institutions who are interested in the coffee sector. And we especially appreciate the participation of our colleagues from European Union, as we know how important it is to discuss this topic more seriously between the different partners. So this is like a start point where we will have a stronger collaboration in order to know better what this means, the European Union Green Deal in the coffee sector, in this case more framed in Ethiopia. So thank you, Alemu.
Thank you, Aurora. Thank you so much. Now I will invite Mr. Danilo from the European Union to give us his presentation. Over to you, Mr. Danilo.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I have to share a presentation maybe on the screen. So
you can share, isn't it?
Yeah. So I can share, but this one, yes.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you. We can see it. So make it full screen. Yes. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a presentation that it presents shortly in the time allocated the European Green Deal, and also something more that is not foreseen in the agenda, but that relates the European Green Deal with the Ethiopian coffee sector. So the presentation is structured in 4 areas, 4 topics: background, the key objective, the strategy of the Green Deal and the sustainability. And then in the third and fourth session, we talk on the coffee sector, Ethiopian coffee sector related to sustainability, and also how some point, short point that will be developed probably later in the webinar on the way to adapt the Ethiopian coffee sector to the Green Deal. So the Green Deal is a new approach, that a strategy that was launched in March 2020, and sets a shift in the approach to environmental challenges, and aims to achieve a zero net greenhouse gas emission economy by 2050, and also with targets already more a short horizon of 2030, with a reduction of the greenhouse emission to the 1990 levels, and through substantially promoting renewable energy and significant improvement on energy efficiency in Europe. So this aims to promote a fair and prosperous society and a modern competitive economy. So, and also, of course, acknowledge the challenges of the climate change, and to transform them into opportunities. And this strategy, the Green Deal strategy, that is in line with the International Panel on Climate Change sixth assessment report, that of course is to limit global warming and mitigating the climate change. So this European policy and strategy has also implication for this continent, Africa, and mostly in the area of sustainable energy, food systems, including, of course, smart city, and also activity linked to the biodiversity protected area, for instance, like the initiative of the continent, that Nature Africa, that cover transboundary protected area throughout the African continent with regional budgets under the different region of Africa. So the Green Deal underpins a number of strategies that cover the agricultural and the food sector, food system, like farm to fork strategy. Then promote a sustainable food production, sustainable food processing and distribution, and sustainable food consumption, and avoid losses and waste from the food industry. And so this is very important, of course, for the coffee sector. And another strategy is the promotion of the circular economy, then the reduction of the resource use, but also as well increasing the efficiency of this use, and by reducing waste generation and also recycling the waste. There are other strategies that are, as I said, linked to biodiversity conservation, and finding a base solution to address climate change challenges, like enhancing the resilience of the ecosystem, promote land use sustainable, foster biodiversity, and support mitigation linked to the conservation of habitats. So the agroecological approach covers sustainable farming practices, enhance soil health, promote biodiversity in agriculture, and reduce chemical inputs. This is, of course, with the sector. And the last is the sustainable finance. So the Green Deal promote investment in green technology in every step of the value chain, and found also renewable energy projects like solar, winds, etc., and support eco-friendly businesses and promote sustainable investment practices. So, here in this slide, there are a few points that relate the Green Deal with the global sustainability. So, as everybody knows, sustainability is a way of meeting the present needs, but without compromising the future generation. So the Green Deal promotes sustainability by decarbonizing and ensuring resource efficiency and environmental stewardship. So it's important there are economical, environmental, economical, and social factors, like for the environmental part, taking climate change and promote water use efficient and prevent loss of biodiversity to ensure sustainability. Economic factors are linked to the value chain that in one end ensure to promote the fair trade, including prices, profitability, and sustainable market and product quality improvement along all the value chain. And social consideration that this value chain should be implemented through the promotion of labor rights, fair wages, and gender balance for inclusive development, particularly emphasis on women's empowerment in all the various parts of the value chain. So here are a few points that of course, but that link this Ethiopian coffee sector with the context of sustainability. So Ethiopian coffee is known for its quality and flavor since years. Traditional farming practice of Ethiopian coffee has been organic in the past, but modern pressure resulted in increases of chemicals in Ethiopian coffee farming. So this makes it important to address this to align with global sustainability standards, including fair trade practices that are crucial for Ethiopian coffee to promote export markets. And the European Green Deal, of course, highlights the importance of sustainability in the coffee industry. Yeah. So the linkage that are between the European Green Deal and the coffee sector. So it's important and, to promote more organic and eco-friendly farming methods, and with this have a specific technology and technique in agriculture that are able to adapt also to climate change, and that goes together with certification and niche marketing with, that will help to ensure compliance with the new standard and regulation, and also to meet the European market demand for sustainable and ethically sourced coffee. So complying with the new standard can boost Ethiopian reputation and access to this market for the Ethiopian coffee. Diversification to organic, specialty, and fair trade coffee can lead to higher prices and achieve specific niche market where added value can be created. So this should be done through the collaboration with the European buyer, focus on sustainability and potential that are a real potential avenue for success. Create added value in the value chain and distinguish the Ethiopian coffee for its quality and certification value. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Danilo, for your insightful presentation on understanding the European Green Deal. Even if it is short, it is comprehensive and it's enlightening. You have provided us with valuable insights into the key objectives and strategies of the European Green Deal, shedding light on its profound relevance to global sustainability and especially Ethiopian coffee. Your emphasis on sustainability and transparency as the pivotal components of the European Green Deal's mission resonates deeply with our collective aspirations for the coffee industry. And thank you so much for that. I now invite, because Mr. Danilo has had to leave early, and I invite participants, if you have any questions for Mr. Danilo, you're welcome. You can raise your hand. I can see Atanafu. I'm allowing you to talk.
You have raised your hand. You can also write your questions in the chat area. Atnaf. Do you have a question or any comment? Okay, Gazain, Professor Gazain, let me allow you to talk. Okay, you can talk. Can I ask you a question?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the organizer and also the presenter for the insightful. I have two questions to Danilo. One is on the recommendation that you made toward the end of the presentation. You said a negotiation has to be reached with buyers in Europe who are actually behind this sustainability. Can you explain a little bit how that can happen? Because how they are actually influencing the smallholder farmer that we have to comply with the requirements, especially with the time we have, because this deal is in place as of 2024. So what would be your insight in that? And the other is also in your recommendation, still, yes, differentiating the products, organic, fair trade, and others is also one option. I agree, but still, this is also another challenge that, particularly from the certification point of view, in terms of cost for certification. So, how do you see this? Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, Mr. Danilo, you can respond.
Yeah, or either, because we are two. We are me and my colleague Mersha.
Okay.
Both of us may intervene, but I may start to respond, and then Mersha may complement if it's necessary.
Okay.
But so the question. I asked an help because I did not take properly note of the question. Sorry. Can you resume for me? I'm sorry for that.
So the question is, in your recommendation, you have talked about negotiations, and most of the farmers are smallholder farmers, and what's your insight on that? I think that's a question, isn't it, Professor Gazain? Hello?
Yeah, okay. This is one question. Yes, another question was related to the Green Deal.
And the second one is about certification cost. The cost of certification is huge, and it will be a challenge to achieve that. That's the other question.
Yeah.
So what's your insight?
Yeah. I know the smallholder farmer. This implies adding value to a given product. Not only coffee is costly. I agree, but this how can be done? For that reason, we are here. I mean, we design support project to support the smallholder farmer to take on these opportunities, because at the end, seen from our side, that we have a broader view. That even if sometimes less practical than smallholder farmer, but we have the view that on the importance to have a proper market to develop the product. So I mean, smallholder farmer should be equipped. The project inputs are important. The project input to the financing of the various projects, European Union and not only European Union, to equip the smallholder farmer to take on this challenge. The smallholder farmer cannot be left alone. The smallholder farmer cannot be transformed from the morning to the evening in a commercial farmer. Smallholder farmer is not commercial farmer. It's not the mentality. So it is a long process. But it's not only the coffee, but in every value chain in agriculture. sometimes we assume that a smallholder farmer automatically become first commercial. There is not a land attribute. There is smallholder and smallholder. So to make a rentable, a small production in terms of land also, it needs a lot of added value. A lot of added value and the niche crops like coffee, for instance. This is I think that the answer is only the intervention we design can support and make the farmer technically performant. One, two, knowledgeable on the opportunity and the markets, but knowledgeable from their point of view. Then the next step they have to reach to get their products go. So step by step, not to make them see too far, then because they have to reach the next step of the value chain. So support the creation of value chain in which the farmer are participants and integral parts. And this is the way the inputs also, sometimes inputs also are necessary, like variety of coffee, etc., and test them with the farmer. I know it's very challenging, but there is I am not an expert in the coffee sector, but I'm sure that there are already good examples. So this is for the first question of how to take on board the smallholder farmer. That maybe at least that you already know very well, but just to remind. The second certification cost. This is links to this kind of inputs. It's universal cost in the first instance should be covered by the subvention of projects that are clear. They cannot be covered by the small farmer. So for that reason, we create this kind of financing. The same European Union has developed its agriculture through subvention. Now with the policy, we got from scarce productivity to have to deal with excedent in productivity to put limits on the production through subvention. So this is also should be taught. Use this project as a way to support farmer in assuming this covering the certification cost that in turn, if the value chain is viable, they will be recovered by the selling, selling the product with added value and get returns. This is in the middle range, in the middle time. So I think that we should not assume that from the again, even in this case, a smallholder farmer will be able from the day to the evening to assume certification costs, which are high, I understand. And there was another question related to the lifespan of the Green Deal, but the Green Deal, I think, is not a given lifespan, it's not a project, it's just, it stretches for several years. So it was launched in 2020, but there is no deadline at the moment because it is not, it is an overall approach that the European Union will develop through different strategies. So there is no deadline of 2024, to the best of my knowledge. If I have understood the question. So this is the three topics that I have
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if Marshall has something to add on this.
Okay, thank you so much. There is another question on the question and answer chat. It says from Van Lindsay, you mentioned stable prices, and I was wondering, given the volatility of the global coffee market, what is the EU doing or can do for stability? And in terms of social considerations and women's empowerment, what's being done towards the wages that those women working in the coffee chain or in the coffee sector receive, also in light of the global market? So two questions. One is, given the volatility of the global coffee market, what is the EU doing or can do for stability? That's one. The second one is the wage paid to women working in the coffee chain or in the coffee sector. in light of the global market? That's what the question is. You can respond to these two questions.
Marcia, you want to say something? Sorry, I asked to my colleague. Or
Okay.
shall I go ahead?
Really, I wish our colleagues working on, particularly on EthioCoffee,
Okay.
would be with us to answer this question. I cannot address it, unfortunately, really, because
Is there anyone from EthioCoffee?
maybe Teresa is the one following the EthioCoffee.
Is she here? Is she connected? Is she connected?
No, he's not here.
Okay, he's not here. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So
Concerning the, excuse me, just a point, but this is my personal understanding. To stable prices, I don't know, is not easy. I think, I don't know where we said that there is no straightforward answer what the EU can do, because in fact is the approach is to create a niche market for specific added value coffee variety. So I don't know. This is, should be always so with the linkages between stable demand to stable. We need to the partnership between with the European buyer, and so if there is a stable partnership, this in a way can help to maintain the market. And on the global volatility, this is a complex issue. But as you know, to have a stable demand is also important for the development of the value chain. And yes, for the wage, this is of course there is this kind of prescription of the European Union to have a fair wage and so on, and this is a part of the certification of the coffee. That if a given production audits realize that there is difference of wages for the same job, this will be not certified coffee. So it will be limited, be only limited access to the market, for instance, because not this certification. So this is just an example.
I hope your questions have been answered, but there is another question from Lemi. He's asking, is there any plan from EU to support small-scale farmers in organic fertilizer production, like compost? He's arguing that it's obvious that there will be some yield penalty while the farmers are forced to produce organic coffee. This is because of that farmers are unable to produce sufficient amount of organic fertilizers due to its cost of production, lack of awareness, and etc. So he's asking, is there any plan from European Union to support small-scale farmers in organic fertilizer production, like compost?
You come in? You hear me, I hope.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, basically, well, you encourage farmers to promote organic farming, not only in the coffee sector. It also applies to other agricultural products, actually. But the thing is, I mean, there is no such specific plan from the EU side, unless it is really complemented by or supported by projects and the programs. So generally speaking, yes, but it has to be through projects and the programs.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you. So Foucault is arguing that the pressure to use chemical fertilizers in coffee farms doesn't apply to Ethiopia. Coffee, 95% of which is produced by smallholder farmers, they don't use chemical fertilizers. That's a comment from Foucault. But Atnafu, he has two questions, so I'm going to allow him. You can unmute and you can ask your question, Atnafu. Atnafu? We can't hear you. So Dr. Akalu, do you have any question or? just kept your hand raised there. Let me allow you to talk.
Meanwhile, if I could reflect on the questions raised to Danielo earlier, I mean,
Okay.
regarding the cost of certification and
Please go ahead.
The challenges regarding the EU regulation on deforestation-free commodities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, regarding the cost of certification, I mean, my personal feeling is that it is a sort of incentive has to be provided for the private sector to really chip in and support this kind of initiative. Otherwise, it's not something that you can really address through projects. So to make it more sustainable, I mean, private sectors has to come in and really take up this agenda forward. Otherwise, it will be difficult for all of us to promote this agenda. If that should be the way forward. Regarding the EU regulations, yes, obviously, it's a hell of a challenge for smallholder farmers who are really struggle to meet their daily day-to-day requirements for life. So maybe it does seem like it has come up from the EU side, considering the commercial coffee farmers instead of smallholder farmers. And as a way forward, I mean, this is also something, I mean, we are asking internally ourselves. So maybe, I mean, I don't know if you might reconsider this agenda when it comes to its implementation for smallholder farmers. Till then, however, we cannot really stand and keep on waiting, but we have to do our best to capacitate smallholder farmers and to transform them gradual basis to sort of commercial or commercial kind of farms. That should be the way forward. And you may reconsider at some point in time. Maybe, I don't know. This is something exceptional and a hell of a challenge for Ethiopian farmers and other farmers in Africa and Asia as well.
Yes, you're right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Atomisha. So last question, Atanafi, if you have...
Alamu.
Yes, you can. Akalu.
My question is almost covered by the respondent, but my issue was geared around is there any incentive mechanism to smallholder farmers to grow organic coffee? Just have heard stable or constant price. Maybe that is discouraging. Particularly in Ethiopia, there is no differentiation between organic and the normal coffee because there is no incentive mechanism that promotes farmers to produce organic issue. The issue is already, I got some response or answer, but I need to get clear and affirmative action. Thank you.
Is there any response for Akal's question?
Okay, but I think that there is no incentive as such. There is no incentive in terms of money, subvention. The incentive should come through the market, the creation of a niche market and added value. That, of course, the buyer will be willing to pay more for organic product that is used. This is pay more, we can make the added value also for the farmer. This is a theoretical incentive, but in terms of incentive of, for instance, you engage an hectare of organic coffee, I will give you 2,000 euros. This kind of incentive is in Europe is part like that for the production in Europe. But framework, I don't think and we this kind of thing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Danilo. I think we have to go to the next session. Next session will be, we now allow Mr. Danilo to leave because he has some other engagements, and we thank you so much for your interventions. Thank you.
Yeah, I will leave at 5:30 only.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will now invite Dr. Martina Bozola from the International Trade Center. She will be giving us her presentation on the EU Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, pilots on accompanying measures to the EU Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. Over to you, Dr. Martina.
Thank you very much. And while I make the introduction, kindly allow me to share my screen as I get a message that is disabled.
Yes.
So first of all, thank you very much for the kind invite. I'd like in particular to thank the European Union, the Spanish Cooperation Office, and the organizer by DESIRA to organize and lead this session, and the Oromia for collaborating also as speaker. I look forward to their intervention later. Excellent. And here.
Akalu.
Yeah, okay. Hello.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Continue, please. You can share, I think, your screen.
Yes. Do you properly see my window? In presentation mode?
Yes, we can see it, yeah.
Excellent. So I would like to present in particular a directive that is under the umbrella of the European Green Deal. So it complements very well what was previously presented, and also in particular activity that the International Trade Center has done related to this directive in partnership and funded with the European Union, the Africa, Caribbean, Pacific States Secretariat. Part of the activity, especially in Ethiopia, are funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands and in close collaboration with the International Coffee Organization. We have also activities that we collab on the CES3D, Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. We collaborate with CLAC, the Organization of Producers under the Fair Trade umbrella. So I'm very pleased that today we have with us also colleagues from Honduras and other Latin American, Central American countries. In particular, in Ethiopia, I would also like to recognize the involvement of several unions. Oromia, that is here with us, has been one of the partners, and of course the Ethiopian Coffee and Tea Authority, who supported and participated and led several of the activities. I will not say much on the Green Deal, as it was very well presented. The framework was very well presented before. I just want to mention that the Green Deal is indeed a package of policy initiative, and the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive is one of those under the Green Deal umbrella. Without going in detail in the slide, the message is we see often a lot of confusion among different regulation, directive, initiative, that they are all under the same umbrella but are distinct and different instruments. So in this presentation, I will focus on the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. This is, of course, complements several synergy with the regulation on deforestation-free product. Also due to the timeline, because the CS3D will enter into force later, this is much less known than the deforestation regulation. And please also notice, I will be precise, and I want to encourage participants to notice that these are not all regulations, but some are, like the CS3D, directive. And this has indeed an impact on timelines and on impact on adoption. When we speak, to simplify, when we speak about regulation, that's entering into force directly from the European Union, but the different directive will have to be made national laws by the member state. I just want to flag this difference because, as we will see in our pilot, we find that sometimes there is confusion among these different instruments. Now, what is this Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive? And we will see actually the timing of this workshop and this webinar. And to present this is very appropriate because last week was a very important week for this directive. We'll see why. The material scope are human rights and environmental impact that are already included in international convention. Let me emphasize this. I also mentioned last month with a contribution to this webinar, this directive doesn't come up with new definition, doesn't impose new requirement. It really builds upon international convention in the annex of the text of the proposed directive that have been already signed by states. Also, very important, there is a clear link with climate change, in particular with having the different value chain actors contributing to the commitments in reducing greenhouse gas emission, the commitment in reaching the goals that were set international within the Paris Agreement. So the UN, the agreement in the framework of the UN Framework Convention of Climate Change, which is, by the way, a nice link with the program and with the objective of the program that organized this webinar, which as a main focus also climate change. Now, this date back when this directive was the proposal of this directive was adopted in February 2022. What does it mean? It means that while the text has been negotiated, actually until last week, we knew this was coming. So often there was a discussion, is this really coming? Yes, it's coming because the proposal was adopted by the European Commission in February 2022. And basically it established human rights and environmental due diligence duties for in-scope company. We will discuss what these in-scope company are. In-scope company, to simplify, are large company based in Europe or with significant turnover and employee number in Europe. In the site of the European Commission, you have all the threshold, all the information that are also summarized in this slide. But the key message I want to provide here is this. Producer, micro, small, medium enterprise are not directly of concern with this proposed rule. However, you may be wondering now and then why we are discussing this here. We are because this due diligence obligation extend to the own operation of the big company with activities based in Europe, but as well as direct and indirect business relationship. That means that the due diligence obligation cascade all the way through all the relationship of the value chain, along the value chain. Now, how does this work? So we discussed about human rights, environmental due diligence. Can we elaborate a bit more? So this due diligence work around a process. And here I want to make a clear point, and I try to emphasize aspects that we saw through the different activities in the pilots, sometimes were not clear to participants. This exercise is not a pass or fail exercise where at some point there may be some examiners or that come to verify if a sector is ready. It's a process that entails embed responsible business conduct into policy management and system of the different entities. The different entities to work to identify and address impact. You know, and each of these 6 steps actually can be the subject of a webinar on its own. For example, identify and and assess adverse impact. What does it mean? It means that the value chain must be mapped, that the value chain must have in place ways to collect the data, to share the data, also rules about who owns the data, how are their share, and so on. So it's important to see how this can work in practice and to prepare. Then, of course, once these adverse impacts are identified and assessed, we need action to seize, prevent, mitigate this impact, to track implementation, to communicate and provide for cooperation. But as I say, this is not a pass or fail exercise, and the directive doesn't ask that once the problems are identified, one solve next day all the problems. What is requested is that the value chain work in collaboration in order to prioritize and to assess. So, of course, it will also be important collaboration along the value chain to establish priorities and see what to start, because it's not credible and possible that everyone solve everything as soon as problem may be identified. So how does it work? This cannot work unless it's truly participatory. And this link maybe to some of the question in the previous Q&A that ask how we can integrate a small producer, how we can integrate cooperative. Well, without integrating the view of producer, cooperative, SMEs, even the in-scope company will not be able to comply, because you see how this process will need participation, will need that all the value chain is engaged and that in-scope company put serious effort for making this happening. A bit of timeline. I heard from the question that mentioned the timeline of the EU deforestation regulation, that you were aware of that one. What about the timeline of the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive? I already mentioned that in February 2022, the European Commission adopted the proposal. Another milestone was in June this year, where the European Parliament adopted the directive, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, as a negotiating text. What does it mean? It meant that up to literally a couple of days ago, there was what's called a trilogue. So the Council, the Parliament, and the European Commission negotiated on the final text. And this was I can also share, and if the presentation is shared later, you will have link. Actually, what you see in blue are link to follow-up information. The Council and the European Parliament reached a provisional deal on the text last week, and there is online a very good press conference that they held after the deal was made and explained the directive a bit more in depth. Now, this, because it was a provisional deal that they reached, means that this draft law, so now is a draft law, it has to be approved still, has to go through some stage of approval before it can enter into force. But once this is done, then the different member states, and this is a key difference with the directive, with the regulation. So the directive has this feature that it then has to be made national law, of course, based on the text of the directive. And so it is expected that will not enter into force 26. Nonetheless, why are we here talking about this and doing activities now? Because you see the scope of what we discussed before, human rights, environment. These are activities that type also relationship along the full value chain that takes time, takes partnership, building partnership, trust. It will take time. So it's very important that the sector start to act now and start to coordinate now, and also to build on synergies with, for example, the EU DR, that, as we state, is something related but not the same thing. I also want to emphasize another difference. The Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive is not about specific sectors. So it involves all the sectors and all the countries. Now, there are some studies. This is very preliminary, of course, not yet a lot out there, but there are already some studies that look at potential impact of, sorry, here it only says regulation because this study was about both the regulation and the directive. Potential impact, this is based on a study organized by the Africa, Caribbean, Pacific State Secretariat, could be possible. So of course, actors should, get benefit in terms of better respect of the environment, better compliance with human rights. Export potential exists. This can also become a source of comparative advantage for those that comply, and also opportunity to improve production, improve collaboration along the value chain, and in general, the transition towards more sustainable value chain. And please, when I speak about sustainability, I have in mind the three pillars of the sustainability: social, environmental, but also very important, economic pillar. Now there are some risks or some potential unintended consequence or negative impact. For example, there is that buyers will gravitate towards destinations that comply. The other side of the coin of becoming more competitive is that someone else may become more competitive if we are left behind. So, of course, and that's really against what the directive wants. The directive wants to foster value chain that are more inclusive, more fair. So how do we work to ensure that no one is left behind? And then, of course, the big elephant in the room, cost implication of compliance. In order to data, to trace the value chain, to prepare, to do capacity building on aspects related to this. Who pays for what? How do we share? How we co-finance? What is already existing in terms of this? And how, this also imply trust and good relationship along the value chain. The directive foresee all this issue, and it is actually part of the text of the directive, Article 14, that we have to build on a smart mix of mandatory and voluntary measures, and make provision for accompanying measure. Accompanying measure which means what can be done or mapped, if it exists already, to help actors along the value chain to be ready and to comply and to benefit, even more importantly, from this, and to benefit all the actors, including those most vulnerable that may not be in the direct scope of the directive. A point out, maybe later. So the European Union member states have already started to map some activities and to also provide some guidance. Just want to flag, if you are interested, this is available for free online in the site of the European Commission. The ITC with the European Commission and contribution of several other partners prepared a guidance document just so that everyone discuss using the same language. When we speak about accompanying measure, the topic is so broad: environment, human rights. What exactly is an accompanying measure? So this guidance document presents some categories of accompanying measure to frame discussion, and this has been used also in Ethiopia for training with several partners organization. I see we have the pleasure of having the Jenny here with us today. Oromia has been also part of these discussions, and to try to see what exists already and what can be accompanying measure needed the most. So in order to see how this can be operational, how this can work in practice, how we can first raise awareness, and second, I already flagged through my first part of the presentation some potential issues or misunderstandings. I hope those are clarified, but also how the different actors can work together. ITC, with the support of the European Union, as I was saying, the OCP Secretariat, the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs in particular, and also collaborating in coffee with ICO, and in Latin America with CLAC, Fair Trade, is working on a series of pilots that include Ethiopia, the coffee sector, but also in Uganda, which is very interesting because it helps also comparing different realities and having lessons learned, sharing lessons learned from different realities, as this meeting, for example, wants to do. And that's why also we accepted with enthusiasm the invitation to participate, is doing pilots. So what are pilots? First, to generate and convene value chain actors. Really we have activity that involve from roasters, importers in Europe, all the way cascading, all the way down to the farmer in Ethiopia, farmer unions, farmer cooperative, individual farmers. For example, recently there was a buyer's tour in Ethiopia, supported by Dutch-funded programs and TF5 that we organized in partnership with Trade, where Dutch buyers met producers in Ethiopia, and among other things, of course, not only, there was also a discussion on the deforestation regulation and the CS3D. So generating space for dialogue is very important around human rights and environmental due diligence. Provide some practical example. The 6-step OECD guidance, how does it work when you try to implement? And then see that, we don't have to restart. A lot of good program, good activity. Actually, the program that is supporting this webinar is one of those whose activity actually support also compliance, for example, through the link with reducing greenhouse gas emission along the value chain. So, and one activities that we are working recently, after the raising awareness, after the identification of priority of a company measure, now we are working with the sector, but as I say, this is really country-owned, and I'm really grateful also to the Ethiopia Coffee and Tea Authority for the lead and the partnership in order to see and to do action plan. So, okay, once a company measure are defined, who does what? Who leads? Who supports? Who can fund? Who can search for funding if there are some unmet, or not only funding in terms of financial, of course, also in terms of human resources and needed technical competence and so forth. So that's just some example. The focus of the pilot has been really in understanding the sectors of the pilot, the peculiarity, and then share and raise awareness and convening the different sector, private sector along the full value chain, public sector, and support organization. Some lesson learned, I will focus on some because anyway the slide will be shared. Maybe one I want to say, and that's linked to one of the questions. Even if producers, MSMEs, union are not in the direct scope, we cannot succeed implementing the CS3D because this, you see, requires all the value chain working together without giving agency and voice to the producer, giving agency and voice to the cooperative, to the SMEs. I give an example. We talked about priorities before, right? So, it could be that in a value chain, like coffee value chain for a company or a group of companies, some priorities are identified in terms of human rights and environment due diligence, so some risks that need to be addressed. Who set the priority? Is the big buyer in Europe that maybe has this in their own sustainability plans? No, right? We want a true collaboration. So in order to set priorities, even for this stage, it needs to be a dialogue. There needs to be and convened the value chain together. We need to be ready. This 2026 may seem far, but it's not when we think about the type of activity and the scope of the activity. We see that there is lack of knowledge. You cannot get ready. You cannot prepare well or have a competitive advantage about something you don't know, right? That's involve all of us. So in order to request to the value chain to prepare, we inform well the value chain. We have to understand what are the misconceptions. And from my side, I want to say that a key message is often that once some of these misconceptions are cleared and the discussion is made and the value chain is convened with a truly participatory approach, like the Alliance for Action approach I mentioned before, also a lot of tension are resolved. I often say, normally in the pilot, when you had the very first meetings 1 year ago across all the pilots, first reaction was to throw tomato at us, like, yet you come with imposing something. But once the dialogue was made, once awareness was raised about the objective, about the support in place, about how we can foster collaboration, the narrative, the participation, the local ownership completely changed. And that's, for me, has been one of the main success of the pilot. Of course, I already mentioned how we can, through activities, engaging with the value chain, foster co-investment and equal distribution or fair distribution of cost along the value chain. And let me say that the text, the best of my knowledge, at least until yesterday, that the final text that I mentioned before that was agreed upon last week has not been released. So there was this press conference and the press release about the agreement, but the final text is not out yet. So it will have to be seen, but in the text up to negotiation, there was some additional text that was added to include feedback received through the ITER of the directive, also about the economic pillar of sustainability. So it would be interesting to see what the final wording is. Just to share a couple of insight about the pilot in Ethiopia, though I will not say much because one of our partners is talking, will be talking, just to say among the different activities, we work with the sector to inform, but also to work on some priority accompanying measure. Some representative of the sector came to Brussels, where we had a workshop with all the stakeholders across all the pilots on the first day, and on the second day even open to a larger network, for example, of certification, international organization, member state, and so on, in order to share. For the sake of time, just let me say, and this workshop was really a good and a very constructive moment to discuss priority accompanying measure and to have a frank discussion also how all the actors can play a role. And this was done at DG, hosted at the OECPS Secretariat with DG INPA. Now, this is without going too much in detail on the data, I just want to make the point that we did study export potential of coffee and also coffee value-added products to the EU. Export potential exists. So the ultimate goal that we are doing this is to make the sector more sustainable and more competitive, and a good relationship with trade with the EU. Another activity I want to quickly mention is that we conducted, with support from some experts in human rights and environmental due diligence, we designed and we conducted in all pilots, also in Ethiopia, readiness due diligence assessments. This is convenient sample. Of course, the results are not representative of the full value chain in Ethiopia, but still may provide some insight and some relevant information as a basis for well-informed next step, also in terms of capacity building and accompanying measure. So in brief, this assessment is based on a survey of about 60 questions and cover key topics that are indeed covered in the CS3D, in particular system, social, environmental, corporate governance dimension. I want to just give example on different maturity level that of the company that participated, 10 cooperative, primary cooperative, and 3 roster. We identify normally 3 groups. So normally emergent group score overall less than 1, transition group between 1 and 2, and tertiary group, though I have to say there was no tertiary group mapped in our sample, the score above 2. So an example, what does it mean that a company is in the emergence group assessment? This is not a pass or fail exercise. The purpose of this is just to support further activities and capacity building. So if a company or an entity or a cooperative is in the emergence group, it means that target support should be dedicated on how they handle issue, in particular because they are found to handle issue in informal or personal manner. They may even miss key aspects like a basic code of conduct. So this group can make rapid improvement by adopted and implemented requirement, and normally as follow-up we propose targeted plans in order to meet some of the very basic requirements. I just want to show us snapshot of result. For example, in terms of system, we see that if someone score very low in terms of this dimension, for example, means that they don't have a code of conduct, they don't have environmental and social goal performance and targets. So a first activity that could be planned is indeed an activity about code of conduct. What are those? How do you adopt? How do you adopt depending on the type of company that you are? So just to give some concrete example. And then I thought that given the program that is supporting this webinar, it could be interesting to see a snapshot of results, which of course are anonymized for the environmental dimension, which cover data on greenhouse gases, carbon footprint, data on environmental risk, waste systems. So these are the dimensions covered by a set of sub-questions in the questionnaire on the environmental dimension. And as you see, then based on the ranking, you can imagine that maybe the priority of entity 10 and 9 here will not be the same priority in terms of support needed of entity 3 and 13. So we are able then to customize support for the different entity of subgroup of entity given the result of this readiness assessment. Of course, this is crucial. Due diligence is crucial given the upcoming directive and regulation. And I already covered most of this, but just want to say in terms of also synergy that the risk management system that we are supporting on the CS3D, of course, also help in responding to some of the requirements of the DUDR. And that's what we see now collaborating with the sector. For example, when the sector is working on the action plans I was mentioning before, they are working often jointly to take action for the regulation and the directive together. I will share the list, but the sector, in order to prepare for the workshop in Brussels at the end of April that I mentioned, already came and agreed together some preliminary accompanying measures. So for each of the 8 categories of the framework that you see here in dark blue, the sector made proposal for some priority. One peculiarity of the participant in the activity, we saw that, for example, the coverage of certification is very high for trade or Rainforest Alliance, organic. I want to make a point here because we see often confusion in that. The CS3D is not a an additional certification, an additional voluntary part of the voluntary framework, but is now coming with a mandatory dimension. So there are several differences. Of course, certification can support, and there are synergy. We started to work with ICEA on this, but this is not another voluntary certification. I want to make the point. And that's it. So just to conclude, I say already most of these. So let me then thank you all for the participation, and I'm happy to take Q&A at the end, which I understand will be now at the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martina, for your valuable presentation on the EU Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, the CS3D. It was very comprehensive and highly informative, and the pilots on accompanying measures to the CS3D is greatly appreciated. I hope your presentation has provided our audience with a deeper understanding of the significance and implications of the CS3D for the coffee sector. We are truly thankful for your contribution and the knowledge you have shared with us. So before we go into the question and answer, I will now invite Ato Dejene Dadi, General Manager of the Oromia Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union, he doesn't have any presentation, but he will just talk. Dejene, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Dejene Dadi. I am a General Manager for Oromia Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union. Our union have 557,186 coffee farmers. We are exported all type of coffee grown in Ethiopia. I think we are in the market for the last 25 years. Now the new EUDR have impact in our farmers in many cases. From this, most of our buyers, almost 30% is Europe. These buyers have good experience with buying with premium coffee. That means we have different age certificate. The major one is fair trade and organic. For example, this year, from our sales, almost 99% we sell with this premium. This means for our farmers, it gives many meaning because with this premium, especially from fair trade, we are constructed around 394 different projects. This means if the farmers, the priority of the problem of the farmer is school, we are built school, road, pure water, and others. So even when, as you know, the productivity of our farmer is very low, but they are stay at market because of this premium sales. So if we are just in this new DR, even the certificate is fell in problem. Last year, during this time, I am signing many contracts from EU, and this year I didn't sign any contract for our union, because even the buyers, they have no confidence. They are no confident because even there is no clarity on this new EDR. Because of this, we are worried. We are worried if you didn't get this market, it is a problem for us. Even if our buyers is not buying this year our coffee, maybe they are changing their formula to substitute our coffee with other countries' product. Even what they are said in Ethiopia, Ethiopian coffee is growing under shade. Other countries, maybe they have no risk with the shade tree. Because of this, if we are just buying from Ethiopia and we are getting this kind of risk, even the penalty is huge. It is around 4% of their annual turnover. This is a risk for them. Because of this, no one is just interested to buy our coffees. So if they didn't buy, even our farmers discouraged with this thing. In Ethiopia, the coffee farmers is least disadvantaged farmers, because nowadays in Ethiopia, the farmer who is blowing wheat and chat and other is better income than the coffee farmers. So this thing is very discourage our farmers. Also, even in other case, if we are get one certificate, I think the farmer he know what is return on investment. But in this EUDR, we didn't get anything. We didn't see any visible opportunity for the farmers, because only the cost. So who is covering this cost? Even we are trying to just exercise some cooperative. The cost is high. I think for one farmer, the cost is from 3.5 up to $4. So if we didn't get any income from selling this coffee to Europe, so how can the farmers cover this kind of cost? So it is really it is risky for our union, for our farmer. We are trying to just discussing with our buyers. So even about the climate change already, our farmers is identified this thing as a risk before 6 years, because even our farmers, they see the impact of this climate change, because the coffee is just moving to high altitude areas. Also, because of the temperature, the rainfall is distracted. So our farmers is well known this one. Because of this, our union have take some measures just by afforestation, giving already improved seed, discussing with Jimma University, and we are just multiplying their cooperative areas. We are just replacing with climate change resistance coffee type. Our farmers already know the impact of climate change. We are supporting this kind of initiative. If the climate change, if you didn't trying to mitigate this kind of thing, because our farmers are putting in the risk. So we are know this one. We are support. We are ready to collaborate, but the cost is very high. Who is covering this cost is our issue. From our union, we are trying to do just distributing energy saving cook stove, because we are just distributing this cook stove for our farmers. Our union is subsidized around 50% of the cost. Because of this, we are even the farmers are benefited from this. This energy saving cook stove is saving energy up to 50%. This is good initiative. Now we are also straight to importing solar energy and substitute to just the farmer is not cutting a tree. This kind of thing is just our union is working. So when we are doing this one, we are creating also job opportunity for women at the village area, because we are creating job opportunity for women and youth. Almost 80% of the job is created for women and youth. With this job opportunity, the women have get additional income for their home. When we are also selling this carbon credit, we are paying 70% of the income directly. We pay for the farmer. The other thing, the coffee husk, we are collaborated with EU around Bali area. The coffee husk is also making a mountain, and the farmers to just remove this coffee husk, they are putting fire on that one. Because of this, we are trying to just making project and changing this husk to charcoal, and the women living around is getting also job opportunities. They are selling this kind of charcoal. So our union is working many activity with directly with climate change. But now the EU regulation has just discouraged our farmers. What we are asked, even the EU, we need extension for to implement this kind of activity. We are believe in the initiative, but we need time. Also, we support the cost to cover this kind of expense. The expense is really, it's high. Also in Europe, for example, now from next year, starting from next year, we are withdrawing organic certificate from Europe, because when we are export to Europe, we must already 5% of the farmers is visited. This is a high cost for the auditors. We are paying in foreign currency. There are huge amount of cost. Also from this, 2% is go to the laboratory to Europe. Even this is huge cost. Because of this, no one is buying from us, so we didn't make expense on to retain this kind of certification. Almost everything is discouraging. Still, we didn't see any benefit bringing in the future for our farmers. I think this is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, to Dejane for gracing us with your insights on the impact of the European Green Deal on the Ethiopian coffee farmers and value chains. As you know, this topic is of immense importance, as you have said. It delves into specific challenges and opportunities that the Ethiopian smallholder coffee farmers and the coffee value chain is facing. You have said that, you have frankly said that there are lots of problems related with the implementation of the UDR in this country. The certificate is a problem, certification is a problem. This year you said you didn't get any contract from any company. The penalty is huge, so companies are reluctant to buy coffee from your cooperatives and other cooperatives also. And I can see all kinds of challenges. And thank you for being frank and for your insightful talk. Thanks so much. So now I will go to Mr. Rene, then finally we'll have a question and answer. If you have any questions, please add it to the question and answer, then we'll try to address that one. So let me go direct to, we have Mr. Rene here? I can't see him. Okay, here he is. Let me promote him to panel. Yes, Mr. Rene. Can you hear us? Hello, can you hear me?
Hola, hola, yes. Buenos días a todos. ¿Me escuchan?
Sí, muy bien.
Please continue.
Okay. Muchas gracias. En primer lugar, agradecer por permitirnos este espacio desde Honduras, ¿verdad? Para poder compartir con ustedes nuestra experiencia como productores y productores en Honduras. Agradecer el espacio que nos permiten para también levantar la voz como productores.
To raise our voice as producers. Firstly, I would like to share my screen in order to present.
Okay, please go ahead. Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can see.
Yes.
Okay.
We are a producers organization in Honduras. We are based on the West region. We do production and coffee marketing under a vision of social economy. We have been working with this focus since 2006, and our main focus is provision of goods and services in the production, transformation, commercialization of coffee, and transfer of business knowledge for taking advantage of opportunities with economic, social, and environmental sustainability. This is our main focus. This contribute to the quality of our associated families, producers. We were founded in 2016. We have 7 years of experiences in coffee commercialization, and this was born as an initiative of a group of producers due to the climate change challenges, mainly on diseases, plagues due to climate change. So because of these, we give technical assistance to access differentiated markets with fair, stable, and constants. We were born with 24 partners. Now we have 248 partners. 54 of them are women. We are dedicated to production and trading of conventional coffee, specialty coffee, with Hybron and SHG specialty coffees, micro lots, as well as coffee certified under different standards like the Rainforest Alliance, Fair Trade. We have this other certification called con manos de mujer, with women using women hands. Our farms are located between 1,000 and 1,600 meters above the sea level, with varieties, with different varieties that are established in different regions like Copan, Ocoteque, and this is what allow us to prepare to this new regulation. This is where we are located. We have three different departments, as I said before. Copan, this is where we are in the west part. Otoquepeque, Lempira. Our services for the producers are oriented to give technical assistance on farms, all the organic agriculture, finance, transport, coffee wet mill, coffee drying, quality control, and commercialization. This is the main structure of our organization, where the main authorities, all our partners. Then we have our board of directors, and we have a corporative staff. I am the general manager of ProExpo. We have also a part devoted to project management and commercial management, and all the staff of administration, quality control, operations, technical assistance. We deal with organic agriculture to create an added value for our products. These are our objectives. Our motto is to have a organization development, and we're based in four main pillars, where we have the social focus, economic focus, environmental and business focus. We have been preparing since 2016 on the digitalization of the coffee value chain. This gave us an advantage in order to comply with the new EU regulation. We are developing on this focus of economic sustainability. We are developing the enhancement of climate smart schools for the producers, different monitored maintenance tools, solar dryers, diversification of crops. And regarding the social focus, we're working with social and economic conditions to increase those conditions for our producers. For example, during the COVID-19, this had a big impact on our producers. We had a budget where we could support with biosecurity. We created mitigating initiatives, creating eco stops and biofilters and youth employability. Regarding the environmental part, we're working through the establishment of forest and fruit nurseries for farms. Regarding the business parts, we want to strengthen all the commercial part towards European markets, for example, and the enhancement of the commercial markets in digital platforms like blockchain, traceability, and electronic auctions. This is the main component that has really made us prepare for this new regulation. This, you can see our partners or allies. We have worked with private and public partners like the Inter-American Bank, the World Bank, the German Corporation, GSS. We are starting some partnerships also for covering carbon credits, USAID, and we're also working with different international organizations as well, like the Texas University. We're working on investigation and development, research and development, doing research on coffee subproducts, good practices, diversification in farms, clean energy, renewable energy, biomass, and digitalization of the coffee chain value. This is our main focus, and this is what allow us to deal with some of the requirements from this new EU regulation. Here we're working with digital platforms and commercialization platforms to have a traceability from farm to cup, green technologies, food safety, gender equality and reduction of inequalities, constant quality education, and decent work and economic growth. All this contributes to the new regulation. We are working on due diligence, human rights, and environment in order to comply with this new regulation. Before we hear in the previous presentations that I agree on the fact that as an organization we need to be ready to deal with this new regulation. We are not prepared 100%, but we need some support from the cooperation and from new partnerships in order to comply. All this topic of traceability has now blockchain technology, and this allows us to comply and abide with this new free deforestation commodities regulation in coffee. Our traceability platforms are give some orientation to all the farms, providing geolocalization and registering different activities in order to have this certification. We do this using a traceability platform with blockchain technology. In order to abide with this new regulation, we define mapping tools for traceability. We build skills, technical skills, create tools to provide this information and have a database and a platform for traceability. Monitoring and for monitoring and assessment, we work on geolocalization of farms in order to have all this information, starting from the industrial areas of our producers. We compile all the information and we collect it in the real time, live, for all our operators so that they have this information live. We have also contributed to digitalization. We have a big social network. You can access to our social networks and know more about us. we have a QR where you can see all the information on digitalization of the farm, and that shows all the traceability. They can have all this information through a Q&A. We do this in every coffee process from the collecting from the crop up to the selling. We create a business system where we work and deal with this information on a centralized way to have this information, to generate this information so on a central way so that it's easier to access to this information. We have created a brand for women in coffee, where the women producers can also have this QR with all the traceability information. Our company has this platform, and now the German corporation has this new partnership with us in order to use this platform. This is the RT or human rights system, so that we have all the information centralized in order to make it available for our clients, always using blockchain technology. This technology allows us to decentralize the information so that the clients can trace all the information from the farm to the cup. Finally, this allows us to reach both national and international markets, and we focus on the different aspects of traceability, starting from information management as a producers, the farm, the quality control. This information reach our company and then goes to the market. It is important because we can have all the information on each link of the coffee value chain, and we can centralize the information, having a exchange of information with all clients. This shows a bigger degree of transparency. I will leave you here with our QR. We have really invested in technical capabilities. Our aim is that our international clients or European Union clients can cover also the cost and can get these plans for. We want to make awareness also to be competitive so that we can comply with this new EU regulation. Thank you so much. I am René Madrid, the General Manager of Pro Expo Honduras.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. René, for your enlightening presentation. Your insights on experiences from Honduras on adapting to the European Green Deal regulations in the coffee sector is really valuable and provided a unique perspective on this crucial topic. Your expertise and willingness to share your experiences from Honduras have enriched our discussions and contributed significantly to our collective understanding of the challenges and opportunities in the coffee sector and under the European Green Deal regulations. So we genuinely appreciate your dedication to the coffee industry and your commitment to knowledge sharing. Once again, I thank you for your time and expertise. So now next we'll have the most anticipated session, which is I've seen a lot of question and answers in the question and answer box. So I'll go directly to the question and answers session. So let me read some of the questions. From Monica, Ethiopia has the advantage of having many coffee farmer cooperatives unions that reach very large numbers of farmers in different regions. Does the EU and the Ethiopian government have plans to empower these farmers structures with financial and technological resources to become more efficient with their service offering to farmers? Or in other words, to strengthen what's already working in order to move forward more quickly? That's the question. Anyone can respond to this?
Maybe I can break the ice. It's Martina Bozzola from ITC. Thank you for the very good question. Something we have observed in the pilot, also comparing with other countries and value chain, is that this structure is very important indeed and can be a leverage for success in the sense that under different dimensions. First, to scale activity, to scale awareness raising information, because the structure already exists. For supporting traceability, also they can the unions can play a very important role. And also to cascade some of the environmental and human rights due diligence requirements. I'm referring here in particular with the CS3D, not the deforestation free product regulation. For example, I presented before the readiness assessment. I say that we assessed 10 primary cooperatives. One lesson learned is that as next step, probably we should interact also for this exercise directly with the unions, because indeed, when we talk about adopting things like code of conduct or explaining code of conduct, they can play, because they already have an organization in place, they can really play a key role, and also in informing the member and so on. So in terms of the financial and technological resources, I do mention that member state, European Union, the sector itself, private actors, they are looking into accompanying measures. So what can be effective accompanying measure? What can be the accompanying measure to prioritize who does what? And who does what and who is supported? Of course, the union can and should play a key role. Not for nothing, in the several activities of the pilot, we had quite a rich work plan. There's no time to go in detail, but we engage a lot with some of the union at union level in Ethiopia. So that's from my side, and thank you for the very good question.
Thank you. There is another one from Fukru. The difference.
Sorry, I don't know if it was exhaustive, so maybe the other panelists want to add just.
Okay. Any other response? Okay, so let's continue to the next question. The different certification mechanisms practiced so far are not adequately incentivizing the producers globally. So how can the cost of compliance to this directive be borne by farmers? I think there's a question from Fuku. You have already said, Mr. Martina, Dr. Martina, you have already said that the EU and other stakeholders will have.
Yes, the idea is to incentivize co-investment and sharing of the value, and to really try to avoid that the costs are just pushed back down. And actually there is even some text, we have to see the final text, as I said, is not out yet, but in the provisional text there were even some text added to this effect, to clearly say that the cost of compliance cannot be pushed back to different value chain stakeholders from the companies in the direct scope of the directive. So, and here I'm speaking about the mandatory, again, as I was saying, because here I see the question is about certification, but this directive impose this, if you want, in a for good reason, but it will be a mandatory framework. By the certification, it is still in the voluntary area. Another things that it's been looked, and I saw there was someone also from Fair Trade International. They really play a key role in contributing to the success of this. And it's under discussion, right? What role and support certification can play in this new smart mix needed of mandatory and voluntary activities.
I hope that I hope your question has been responded. So Sabla Ganat Aklilu, she's asking if the documents should be shared. Of course, we'll share all the presentations and the recording of this webinar. So there is no problem there. Then there is another question by Sableganet. It says traceability issue will be a bit challenging for coffee roaster. Anyhow, we'll see how it takes us through. Okay, so just a comment. So another question from Marsha to Dr. Martin. Okay, what is the role of the government in the course of mapping value chain actors, increasing the awareness of value chain actors to develop their action plans? That's the first question from Dr. Marsha.
So it's of paramount importance. I suppose here is the question, and thank you, is a very good and permits to clarify an important point. Of course, the value chain operators from the one in scope of the direct, and again, because that's our area of focus with synergy, but here I'm focusing on the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive. But that's true also for the UDR. The government play a very important role. I have to say, in the context of the CS3D and the pilot, we acknowledge an excellent collaboration with the Ethiopian Coffee Authority. We work in similar structure and collaboration in Uganda with the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, and in Ghana with COCOBOD. There we do cocoa value chain, and it's really, I don't see a way forward without engagement, without collaboration, without the lead of the government and of course the designated authorities. Here we're speaking specifically on the coffee sector. Maybe a question is also how this interplay with wider ministry, and because, as I say, at least CS3D is not sector specific, but from my side, we did collaborate very closely. For example, in the activity I mentioned in the Brussels, the executive director of Ethiopia Coffee and Tea Authority, Dr. Adunya, led the delegation, and also in the workshop we organized. So we couldn't do without them, and it's really important that they are in the lead and participate.
Okay. Second question. I hope your question is answered. And we're running out of time also. Question 2 is to Dejani from Marsha. It says, if the Union withdraws from the European Union markets due to the new regulation, where will be your alternative market niche, and how promising will that be from the point of view of cost-benefit analysis?
Okay, thank you. Of course, we are not exhaustively this European market. With the collaboration of ITC, we are trying to just put on the supply chain our coffee, starting from the farmer up to end user. We are developing some digital platform to show our coffee is very traceable. We are working with that one, but when it comes to organic certification, of course, we are not getting, we are not just encourage the benefit organic from Europe, but for this one we are trying to see other options, just like South Korea. They have interest in organic, in Australia, New Zealand, and other market. We are trying also the Chinese market, also the need on specialty increasing time to time. There are good feedback. We are trying to see the other option. I think if I answer this question, yeah.
Thank you. Is your question answered, Dr. Marsha? Okay, I think it's answered. So thank you so much. Thank you all. We are left with 1 minute. So thank you so much. So in closing, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has been a part of this enriching and enlightening journey of our AIDS EthioLatinCoffee webinar. The European Green Deal and the coffee sector will edit the recording of this webinar and its proceedings, and we'll make it available on our website and YouTube channel for future reference, and we'll also send you an email. To our dedicated participants, thank you for your active engagement, insightful questions, and unwavering commitment to the coffee industry's sustainability and growth. Your presence has truly made this event a success. I also extend my sincere appreciation to our interpreter, who have breached language barriers and ensured that valuable information was accessible to all. Your skill and dedication have been instrumental in making this webinar an inclusive and global dialogue. Last but not least, I want to thank our esteemed speakers, presenters, and facilitators for sharing your expertise, experiences, and perspectives. Your contributions have added depth and richness to our discussions, leaving us with valuable insights and strategies for navigating the challenges and opportunities presented by the European Green Deal. As we conclude this webinar, let us carry forward the knowledge and connections gained today to drive positive change in the coffee sector. Together, we can work towards a more sustainable, transparent, and equitable coffee industry that benefits all stakeholders. Thank you once again for being part of the EthioLatinCoffee community of practice. We look forward to our collected continued collaboration and to creating a brighter future for coffee. The next webinar will be on January 30, 2024. It will be on digitization, empowering smallholder coffee farmers through the use of technology. And I hope Mr. Rene from Honduras will also be participating, because from his presentation, I've seen that they're into digitization a lot. So we'll be in contact again. For those of you who will be celebrating Christmas and the New Year, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I thank you so much. And until next time, bye-bye. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.